up, you guys? Good morning. It is a beautiful Saturday morning, and I figured I'm gonna spend a little bit of time today hanging out in the kitchen in between Cleo's napping and things. My husband took my oldest out, and they're out ice fishing today, so it's just me and the 3 little kids. And I just figured, you know what, they're hanging out Saturday morning cartoons. They're hanging out. I'm gonna get some things done in the kitchen today that I've really been wanting to get done. Part of this freezer pantry challenge, getting some things used up. But in another video that went up this week, I was talking about some homemade cleaning products that I've been using. I'll show you guys here. And I asked you guys how, or if you guys wanted to know how I made these infused vinegars. This is just orange peels and vinegar in a half-gallon mason jar. And I figured, you know what, I have another infused vinegar that I want to make anyway, so I figured I'd just bring you guys along with me, and that's where we're going to start today because it's a quick project. I can get it checked off the list right away this morning. So this is just orange peels and vinegar, but what we're going to be doing is in this mason jar, we're going to be putting vinegar, and I have some spruce and some pine and some balsam and all sorts of tree limbs from a Christmas bucket that I have. And instead of just taking all of those remnants and bringing them out to the chicken coop for my chickens to kind of forage through and stuff, I figured I'm gonna take some of those out, put some of those in here, and we're gonna make some like Christmas styled vinegars. And I'll let those infuse for about 2 weeks underneath my sink. And then you can either strain them off or just kind of use them as you will. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm going to pour some vinegar in my jar here and then shove in some tree branches that are small enough to fit in this jar. My jar here, this is my vinegar. I have another thing of vinegar if I need another one, which I think I might. Oh, maybe we have just enough. Ooh, a little bit too much actually. Okay. I'm gonna pour some of this out and get it back in the jar. I need to leave enough room because obviously the vinegar is gonna go up once we shove our branches in there. But I'm just gonna go over to my Christmas bucket and pick out some pieces that I think are small enough to shove in there. And the cool thing about these vinegars is you can really put in whatever you want. I'm excited this summer to experiment with flowers and doing like lilacs when the lilacs bloom and things like that. That's what I'm really excited for. Okay, so I just grabbed off a couple sprigs here from that bucket, and really this is as simple as it is. You just throw them in, and you could do whatever you want. But I've never made this kind of vinegar before, so I'm excited to give this a try. I think I'm gonna shove in just a couple more branches here, and I'm excited to let this, or like clean with this. How about this? Once this vinegar is ready, maybe I'll do like a kitchen clean with me or something, and we can test out this vinegar together. I'll keep you updated on how this turns out. I'm excited. You smell vinegar? Okay. Yeah. Now that this is stuffed, I'm just gonna close it up, and we're gonna move on to the next project. The very next thing I'm hoping to get done this morning is some pizza dough. I think we're gonna make some pizzas tonight, just so I can do something fun with my smaller kids who are gonna be home today. So we're just gonna pull all this stuff to the side, pull out my stand mixer, and make some pizza dough. Are you gonna help with the pizza dough?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like making pizza.
You like making doughs?
Yeah.
I'll link down below my pizza crust recipe, or I'll just write it out in the description box, but I would highly recommend, if you're gonna use it just a ton, I keep mine taped to the inside of this cupboard here. That way when I'm cooking, all I have to do is open the cupboard and I can see the recipe if I ever need to look back for it. So I start with about 1/4 cup of warm water in the bottom of my stand mixer here. So I start with about 1/4 cup of water, and then this is 1 tablespoon of yeast. My yeast, I think, is starting to get old. It doesn't work as well, so sometimes I throw in a little extra, but I'm just gonna give this a minute, let it go. I'm gonna throw in my sugar on top of my yeast, and then we're gonna let it sit for a minute and just kind of start to get a little bubbly. We're gonna do 1 tablespoon of sugar as well. I like this recipe because it's really, really simple, straightforward. There's not a lot of ingredients in it. It's super easy to remember. And then you're just gonna need salt, olive oil, and flour.
Bubbles.
We're gonna give this a little bit of a mix.
And
this pizza crust is so good. It's really easy, it's very fluffy, and honestly, it's kind of foolproof once you do it a couple of times.
Wait,
so
it is fluffy?
I'm just gonna slowly start adding in flour. It takes 3.5 cups, and then I actually got a suggestion from one of you guys to put garlic salt in my dough. So I'm gonna grab my garlic salt, put that in my pizza crust, and it does make a huge difference. I won't go back to not putting garlic salt in here. It's so good. Then we're just gonna slowly start adding in our water and flour, just kind of slowly going back and forth until that gets mixed up, and then we're just gonna let it sit and rise for the rest of the day until it's time to make the pizzas. And also, I've froze this dough before. It freezes awesome. It still rises when you bring it out of the freezer, which is awesome. And then I've also made this dough ahead of time and left it in the fridge for up to 3 days, and it holds awesome. So if you wanted to, you could make it on a Sunday for like a meal prep, and then make pizzas like on Wednesday or something, and it still holds really, really well. The very last thing I wanted to get done today in the kitchen were these breakfast bars. I'm trying them out. I was looking for recipes on Pinterest last night because I was up a little bit later with Cleo to use up some things I don't reach for in my pantry that often, like walnuts. I was looking for something to clear out some raisins, or you know, whatever, just some new things. I wanted to try some new recipes during the pantry challenge, and this is a new recipe. So I will link this down below. It's from whiteleafprovisions.com, but they're apple cinnamon oat cookies. They look really, really great. I pinned a couple things that are like this, some using bananas. That way maybe later during the pantry challenge we can use up some of those bananas that are in the freezer. But we're gonna get these going. So like I said, I will link this down below. I wanted to use some of our homemade applesauce out of the pantry shelves because I made some pear applesauce that nobody seems to like to eat just as applesauce. So I thought it would be something good to shove in these cookies. But I already have a thing of applesauce that's open in my fridge, so I'm just gonna use this. And then if we like this recipe later on, I know that I can switch out the applesauce for the pear cinnamon applesauce that's down on the food shelf. Eggs fresh from the coop this morning, so we're just gonna get rocking and rolling and get these in the oven. So I'm gonna preheat my oven to 375 because that's what the recipe says. We're just gonna start throwing some stuff together here. The kids helped me finish off the pizza dough. That's what's in the bowl back there. We're just gonna let that kind of chill all day until it gets big enough. It should just get massive. It'll well over the bowl, and we're gonna make either pizzas or strombolis or calzones or something. We're gonna do something pizza-y tonight with that. I'm gonna grab 2 bowls here because I don't feel like washing out my sand mixer bowl. So we're gonna do dry ingredients and then wet ingredients because that's what this recipe says to do. Okay, 1 3/4 cup oats. Where is my cup? Oh no, did I put it back in the flour? Totally good. Okay. Let's get going. How are you guys doing on your freezer pantry challenge? I would love to know. I think we're doing pretty well so far. Just with like no spend January. In general, I feel pretty good. But the freezer pantry challenge has honestly been so fun. At this point, I think it's the 14th, so we're only a couple days in. But I'm having so much fun digging in my freezers and just trying to find things and like finding new recipes. I think a huge part of it is that I'm feeling more and more and more like myself after having Cleo. I'm like coming back to normal, I guess. I know that might sound bad, but I'm just kind of like finding my groove again, I guess. I'm having a lot of fun getting in the kitchen and stuff and just like hanging out. So much fun. And I'm finding stuff that I forgot that I preserved in the freezer. So that's been kind of cool. Being like, oh yeah, I totally took the time to do this. And if I wouldn't have dug in my freezers at all, I would have completely forgot that I even had this here. The recipe calls for nutmeg, and I definitely don't have any. That's a spice that I need to just buy because so many of these recipes that I'm making nowadays calls for nutmeg and I never have it. So it wants walnuts. I'm just gonna crush these up really quick, and it calls for a cup, but I'm not gonna put in a cup. I think I'm gonna do half a cup. A cup of walnuts is kind of a lot. Well, maybe I'll just, you know what, we'll just follow the recipe. We'll just follow the recipe. We're gonna do a cup. I'm just gonna throw these in a Ziploc bag and just bash the heck out of them with my rolling pin to kind of get these smaller. There, I think that's pretty good. So we're gonna dump this in our bowl here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, let's give this a toss. I'm gonna throw in my raisins. Then I think our dry ingredients are gonna be good to go. How much raisins are we throwing in this bad boy? 3/4 of a cup. If you don't like raisins, you could definitely do chocolate chips. I was thinking about doing 2 batches of these, ones with raisins one with chocolate chips. I'm gonna go light on the raisins. Just, I love raisins, but I don't know how everybody else is gonna react to the raisins, so we're gonna keep it light. That looks good. You could do half and half too. Do like a fourth a cup raisins, a fourth a cup chocolate chips. That looks delicious. Okay. We're gonna cream together our wet stuff here, set the dry stuff aside. Grab us another bowl here. Now we're gonna throw in that cup of brown sugar here. How awesome. Okay, I'm gonna melt half a stick of butter and also throw in our applesauce. So I'm gonna start with our applesauce. Well, you know what? Let's get that butter in the microwave. So it wants 2 4-ounce cups of applesauce. I'm just gonna guess and eyeball it. That going, add in our butter, and then we can mix everything together. I'm just gonna grab our cookie sheets. We're gonna kind of just slap these down like regular cookies, get them on the cookie sheet, bake them in the oven for a set amount of time. We have to read our recipe here and figure out what that time is. 8 to 10 minutes, and then we're gonna have some cookies. And that's everything I wanted to get done in the kitchen today. So I feel pretty good about that, and it looks like Cleo's starting to wiggle a little bit, so maybe just in the nick of time we'll have these in the oven. So let's get those in, and then maybe we can clean up this mess a little bit too before she wakes up. That'd be delightful. Here are our first batch of cookies. They look and they smell so good. Batch number 2 is got a couple minutes left, but they set up beautifully, and I think they're the perfect size too, so I'm excited to give these a try. I figured I'd show you guys the kids' pizzas. They did everything themselves. They shaped it, put sauce on, put cheese on. All I did was put it in, pull it out of the oven. They're very proud of it, so we're gonna cut this up. I think we might do squares today, just kind of mix it up a little bit. Everybody can have those. My stromboli is still in the oven. I made mine separate because I'm not doing dairy right now, so mine is cheeseless.